Yes, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. Well, in fact, the fear was real of expansionist communism. So I want to just create a context around which to understand some of the events in modern Egypt in the post-World War II era. And the first real event is, of course, the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, which itself was a very controversial move. One might say that, sort of why was the State of Israel established when it was? Well, I think there was enough sort of momentum of world sympathy after Holocaust to sort of create a consensus opinion that now is the time, after 2,000 years of diaspora, that the Jews should get their homeland back. But that sort of intellectual justification is going to come up against the hard knocks of reality, where the sudden influx of refugees into the Palestine are going to destabilize the sort of rather fragile balance between Arab, Palestinian, and Jewish, existing inhabitants. The British, who are in charge of that area of the world as a result of the mandates, can't deal with it. So they decide, well, let's let the United Nations take care of this. I mean, after all, isn't that what we established the thing for? So, long story short, in an incredible move, Ben-Gurion is going to, declare the British are going to pack up and leave. Israel declares itself established. It gets immediate diplomatic recognition, not only by the United States of America, but by the Soviet Union, in a rare display of sort of cooperation in the early Cold War era. And de facto, the State of Israel is a fact. Great for the Jews, not so great, or at least it is perceived as not so great within the larger Arab world. And in fact, the very day after Israel is established, the armies of 5 neighboring Arab countries, Syria, Jordan, Egypt, and the others, Lebanon, are going to attack the new State of Israel. Israel, in spite of having been supported by the United States, Israel is not going to get any arms shipments, and it looks like it's all over, except, interesting, at the last moment, the Russians provide a supply of weapons and ammunition which turn the tide of that war, and in a series of brilliant military maneuvers, Israel is able to contain or defeat the combined forces of these 5 Arab nations, particularly the armed forces of Egypt. And as a result of that military defeat, it's not long after that we get what's called the so-called Revolution of 1952, where a cabal of disgruntled Egyptian army officers, headed by a man named Gamal Nasser, with a strong assist from his chief colonel, Lieutenant Anwar Sadat, are going to literally overthrow King Farouk, the son of the original King Fuad, and it's a done deal. Now, why they overthrow the king, the conventional explanation is the military is humiliated by the incompetent political leadership of the king and charges of corruption and all of that. Suffice it to say that when Gamal Nasser takes power, he will immediately, in a rather populist appeal to not only the Egyptians, but in a populist appeal to the larger Arab world, he's going to resurrect literally the language of the 19th century pan-Arab movement and frame this not only as an effort to himself lead a larger pan-Arab movement, but he's going to also, put this in a context of the post-Cold War sort of bipolar struggle, ideological struggle between democracy and communism, America and the Soviet Union. And part of his appeal is the message to the Arab people that, look, we don't have to make a choice between communism or capitalism. There is a third way. There is an Arab way. And I am willing to lead the peoples of the great nation of Islam to a third alternative. And this pan-Arab appeal to Arab sort of identity with a sort of a backbeat of a kind of like a Muslim religious identity is very neatly complemented by the efforts of India under Nehru to establish the non-aligned movement within the Third World. It's part of the effort to create a context, an alternative to that larger ideological struggle. Now, things are going along tickety-boo until Nasser, I would say, sort of oversteps. He gets ahead of himself in 1956, and in a gesture of that is sure to inflame world opinion, he's going to seize the Suez Canal. And the Suez Canal is one of those events, I don't know, the Suez Crisis in 1956, I'm tempted to say as sort of a student of history that it's one of those events that sort of takes on more and more significance, symbolic significance over time as you look back on it and you realize the extent to which it influenced other world events around it. I would be almost tempted to make that argument, except for the fact that, in fact, in 1956, the Suez Crisis was considered a pretty significant event at the actual time. But I want to kind of run through it. Of course, the Suez Canal was a major, like a valuable piece of real estate. Its role in world trade. As a conduit for Arabian oil, a lifeline to rebuilding Europe as part of the Marshall Plan at the end of the war. It played a strategic role in containing communism, all of that. And the way the events lead up is in 1955, Egypt signs a weapons deal with the USSR. Now, why does Nasser want to upgrade the entire Egyptian military in 1955? Partly because of their humiliating defeat at the hands of the Israelis, partly because it is a way of bolstering his prestige amongst Egyptians in the larger Arab world, and partly it is literally a way to exploit a gift from the Soviet Union in that larger Cold War era. The Soviets are willing to give it to him, so hey, why not? The problem is he gets that arms deal, and at the same time, without missing a beat, he's going to turn around and recognize China, which the United States of America had attempted to isolate as a pariah in the international diplomatic community. In retaliation for accepting that arms deal and making a move towards the Soviet bloc generally, and specifically for recognizing China, the U.S. blocks International Monetary Fund funding for the Aswan Dam electrical project. I mean, things rapidly spin out of control. In retaliation for that, as a way of standing up to the West, Nasser nationalizes, seizes the Suez Canal. He prevents, suddenly like Britain and France are like, oh my God, we've got to recapture the canal. Unbelievably, the British and the French, in cahoots with the Israelis, are going to launch a three-pronged airborne and armored attack to regain control of the Suez Canal without the support of the United States of America and expressly against the resolution of the Security Council of the United Nations.